Good morning, Facebook tribe, and welcome to Friday. This is, I was trying to think of a good, ooh, look what I got, some here. Some delicious bulletproof coffee, which I'm drinking for a while. Michelle Dean, cheers. Michelle Dean. Ron Patton, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Tracy Bean, good morning to you as well. Beautiful people. How's everybody doing on whatever day this is? Quarantined. Yay! Andrew, Yesenia. Good to see y'all this morning. Good to see y'all. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but um, I'm not wearing my over 50s, my reading glasses, so sometimes it's kind of hard to read the comments. It happens quick for all any of you young folk. I can tell you, when you hit 40 and 50, it goes. The eyesight goes down quickly. Andrew, good to see you. Wendy, welcome back. All right. Hey, I would love, as we continue doing these things, if anybody has any specific topics or questions or anything else is of interest to you, that either myself or any of my people can share. Let's use this as kind of a forum for being able to exchange some best practices and experiences and treasure as we move through all this together. Amy Janes, how are you, Amy from Oklahoma? How you guys handling the situation over there? Hello to Richard, I miss him. All right. So great to have this virtual community, and really wonderful to be able to do this together. This is central to our experience as humanity, is being able to. You can see my dog down here a little bit. This is my little interspecies partner. Cool. Yes. Cool. My dog's name is Nika, and she's a 14-year-old black lab. Been with me for a long time. Okay, so we're going to launch into this, and the Joshua, my mighty and powerful ally, Joshua Winner. Really great to be on this journey with you as well, brother. Okay, so one of the things I heard recently from actually my jiu-jitsu coach, who is now living out of state, he shared with me a piece of information that is really powerful for all of us, and that is that the Chinese character for the term crisis consists of two brushstrokes, kind of like the yin yang, and one of the brushstrokes means danger, and the other brushstroke means opportunity, and they're always inherently together in a binary system, which we need to be able to have one if we're going to have the other. And for those of us who are entrepreneurs or people who have been in sports or any other competitive field, which is probably unavoidable in the human experience, we recognize that we cannot have growth, and we cannot have development and even change or transformation without risk, without being able to put safety and control on the altar. We need to have those things. We don't get to have the intimacy that we crave without the vulnerability that comes with it. We don't get to be brave without being afraid. We don't get to be proud and fulfilled without accepting the challenge of adversity and uncertainty. So this inherently is encoded in our being. We understand it at a very, very deep ancestral, almost a DNA level. And what a lot of great thinkers, including Carl Jung and Joseph Campbell, have realized when they were studying the mythology, which is the history of our species, is that they realized we keep telling the same story over and over again. And it contains those two binary factors of growth and challenge. And, or in the terms of that crisis Chinese character, danger and opportunity. It's just inherent. And so we have encoded that system into our storytelling uh, operating system. And it seems to be unavoidable to the point that any book you've ever read, any movie you've ever watched contains almost the same sequence of character development, that plot arc. And Joseph Campbell calls it the monomyth, and there's a lot of other terms for that. But it's an incredibly valuable roadmap for being able to access transformation and treasure in the face of adversity. And so when we're dealing with all this uncertainty and chaos and danger, we need to be able to realize, hey, if we're smart, if we understand the hero's journey, we can then use this experience as a window to transformation and growth. And so the hero's journey is the roadmap for that. It's incredibly important. It's one of those master maps or lenses through which I view a lot of my life. It's actually gotten deep in me, and so I use that to make sense of situations. And this is one of those. So excited to share this with you. Probably review for most of you who are watching this. Probably anybody who's going to be in my circle has been involved with archetypes and leadership and personal growth and hero's journey. However, these are things that we need to revisit because they're a practice. This is something that we need to be able to engage with regularly and recommit to regularly. And I might have a fun little versions of this that you might not have heard before. So we're going to launch in the hero's journey. I will do my best to respond to there's Nika, Wendy. All right. Eric, good to see you. Lisa Watts. Hello, friend. I last saw you up in Big Bear. Okay. So, hero's journey. And we're going to start. I've got my little whiteboard here. All right. Got my little whiteboard here. And what we're going to do with this is probably a slightly different version for a lot of you. This was kind of my own compilation of a couple different maps or symbols. And we're going to start with what I just shared with you in terms of the binary system. This is the yin-yang. It's a 5,000-year-old Chinese symbol. And again, that represents the duality of things. And if the top part is mastery and the bottom is chaos, then the sweet spot of what we referred to as flow state a couple days, we talked about where people are optimally engaged. That perfect liminal is the word of saying it's on the threshold between two things. It's like an estuary. So that line between chaos and mastery is where people have the most growth, and it's also where the transformation lies. So we're going to start the hero's journey, building it from the yin-yang, and the top part up here, we're going to call this mastery, and down here we're going to call this chaos. Okay, chaos is generally referred to as feminine, right? Mastery is going to be traditionally masculine. We refer to that as masculine wanting control. We want to have structure. We want all of those things. So this is kind of the lighter koi fish. And the dark koi fish which is the realm of the feminine, because it changes, it creates, there's energy, there's magic. And so we need to have both of those pieces. So this is the beginning of the hero's journey. And if you guys wanted to even take some note, if you wanted to take a piece of paper and track this, you'll remember a lot more. You'll remember about 85% more of the things you write down. So if you wanted to write down And if you're doing that, and you've drawn your little yin-yang, if you draw a second axis right down the middle, and now we have the quadrant system, which now it'll seem familiar to you, the more classic hero's journey. And we always start up here. And for anybody who's can't see and you're just listening, we've drawn a clock basically, and noon or 12 straight up to 3 is our first quadrant. And this is the form of mastery where we have become pinched and limited, and we don't have the ability to achieve the abundance that we want, or we have lost something that we had before. Does this sound familiar to our situation right now? Everybody who's had canceled programs, they've had, God forbid, lost whole careers. Like, this is that point in mastery where it's getting less and less and less. And so what happens is we have a lot of anxiety. We have dread, because what's coming is this huge head of the dark koi fish of chaos. And she is coming. And she's already here. And this is the thing, that if we don't intentionally go from this last vestige of mastery and we're clinging to control, then she's going to come for us. And one of my favorite quotes is it's an old Roman proverb. It says, "Fate guides those who will, and those who won't, she drags." So if we don't intentionally go into growth and change, then it's going to come to us. To come to us in a way that we don't want. Because in the hero's journey, if you don't enter chaos, then it's called refusing the call. And that happens in every story. And if you ask yourself right now, what are some of the things that I need to be doing and I'm not? We are all refusing the call. It's about our fitness, our career, our relationships. There's something that we know we need to do, but we are not doing it. And fate just amplifies or escalates her call. And eventually, the hero gets pulled across this threshold into chaos. This is Luke Skywalker, who does not go to train to be a Jedi. This is Harry Potter, who does not accept the battle with Voldemort. This is, for you ladies, this is Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, who does not handle the bullying in Kansas. And in every one of these cases, fate comes and takes the hero into the dark woods of chaos. In the case of Dorothy, it comes in the form of a tornado. Right? In the form of Luke Skywalker, it comes in the form of his uncle getting killed and his aunt. So we're thrust into the thing we need to do. And you could say that that's what the coronavirus is right now. This is fate. And she's unavoidable. Okay. Atlas, really good to see you, brother. Missed you at the K4 meeting this week. And didn't get to see you until the very end. So we'll catch up soon. All right, Brett, my man. Brett, you may have come on a little late, but I just gave you a shout out about the crisis balance, which is danger and opportunity. So thank you for that, Brett. One of the smartest dudes I know. All right. So when we enter the dark koi fish of chaos, which is what we're in now, we are threatened with drowning, because we're submerged in the dark woods, the uncharted territory, the unknown and unnavigatable first experience into a new territory. How do I go digital? How do I maintain my relationships? How do I maintain my fitness while in the house? There's a vast amount of questions about how to navigate this current moment. And this is where we are. We're in chaos right now. And so mythology has given us a beautiful blueprint or roadmap to be able to navigate through these dark woods. And it consists of 3 things. So these are worth writing down if you're wanting to remember some of this information. And these three things live in an island of chaos, of mastery, which sits in the middle of this chaos, or I like to think of it as a castle in the woods. And so in the middle of the dark koi fish, there's an eye of light, of mastery that sits in the middle. And for those of us who have been pulled by the corona tornado into Oz, head for the island, head for the castle. And you do that by recommitting to, or discovering, if you haven't already found it, three things. The first one is allies. Okay. So allies are the people who you share your projects with, that you share a purpose with, that you share a common set of values with. And these can be done remotely. This doesn't mean that we need to be with them physically. It means I need to find a way to digitally or sonically, energetically reconnect with these most important people, because the lone wolf dies. That's the reality of our species. We need a pack. We're designed to be in tribal systems that we share experiences with. So that's the first part of navigating chaos, is find your allies. The second one is none of us knows what we're doing. Like, we're all in the same playing field here. We all got dropped into the woods. So you can accept that it's okay. You don't know. We're all inadequate. We're all unfamiliar with this. But very quickly start either looking or discovering or asking for help from allies about elder wisdom. Okay, this is a little piece of mastery that allows you to navigate this. So, number 2 in the castle, elder wisdom. Now, for me, that I'm in the process of writing a book now. I made a very quick pivot to, I got a couple months off, get that book written, digital products. How do I do certain things that I can still maintain my momentum, and how can I still keep playing offense? Because we're designed to play offense, and when we get thrust into chaos, we start playing defense, and that means we're falling back into our defensive positions. And when we're in chaos, it's important to start getting very laser-like and targeted and structural, because that allows us to be able to survive in chaos. So elder wisdom is the second piece. And then the last one, and this is probably the most contentious but the coolest, is a thing called supernatural aid. Supernatural aid. And for those of us who have a spiritual practice or worldview, and you've surrendered to that, then it's pretty easy to put that on the divine or the universe, God. There's also a lot of very good scientific backup for that. And one of it is there is a trackable and well-researched dynamic about beginner's luck. It turns out that beginners tend to operate from their limbic system and their intuition a lot more than people who are in their prefrontal cortex. And we tend to make better decisions when we are in our limbic system, because we have more processing power. So beginner's luck in poker is a real thing. Many times raw beginners will beat people who, like myself, are just crappy poker players, because I really don't know how to play poker very well, and yet I think I kind of do, because I understand a few rudiments. And beginners are just playing off intuition. And so that's an example of supernatural aid. It's just your base truth, right? Which is how we are as children. We're intuitive, we're more creative. And so that's part of supernatural aid. And the other one is called your reticular activating system, which is a big word, which means reticular, or eye, and activating system, which is I I have um, like a basically a program in my brain that uh, allows me to notice the things that I'm dwelling on, whether I'm hungry or I'm fearful or whatever it is that I'm dwelling on. I tend to see things that will corroborate that or allow me to be able to um, access food or safety or some other basic need. So I always I tease my wife because she really wants a white Jeep Rubicon, and she sees them everywhere all of a sudden, and she sends me pictures of them. And that's her reticular activating system, noticing the things that she's thinking about. So that's an example of supernatural aid. We tend to notice and manifest the things that we're thinking about. So that's an example of supernatural aid, and you can lean into that, and it's a true thing. All right. So in this castle, this is one of the most important pieces of the hero's journey. Find your allies, right? Claim your elder wisdom, which is sometimes reading, take workshops, ask for help, and then surrender to the supernatural aid. It's here. We're being carried, right? So at some point, we have to face the monster in the woods, and there is a monster in the woods, and there's a reason why we um, didn't want to go in here in the first place, because there's some scary things in the woods, and a lot of it is simply the unknown, and a lot of it is, yeah, there's some things in here that are built to kill you, okay, and throughout all of mythology, there we refer to that as the dragon. Every culture has some form of dragon, all the way from Chinese to Mesopotamia down to the Americas. There are dragons, and that's actually what we call the unknown. When we didn't know it was on the outskirts of the maps, we would say there be dragons. Like, don't go there. So that's the boogie monster that lives in the dark woods, and it's built to kill us, but it's not really built to kill us literally. It's built to kill some portion of us that no longer serves. And this is a really important distinction. It probably the central core of the hero's journey is when we hit the 6 o'clock point or somewhere thereabouts, we enter the abyss. ABYSS, the abyss. The abyss. And the abyss is the dark night of the soul. It's the thing that we've been terrified of, that we have been avoiding. It's poverty, it's inadequacy, it's abandonment issues, it's the imposter syndrome. Like you know what it is. You know it's in the abyss. And what's actually in the abyss is not a monster ready to kill you. It's actually you. We are in the abyss. And Nietzsche says, if you stare into the abyss long enough, then it stares back into you, which means the thing that we're most afraid of is ourselves. And generally, adversity is something that we're not afraid of failure. We're afraid of success, and more importantly, what will success require from you? True success and transformation is going to require that you radically change some of your identity, some of the limiting beliefs, some of the coping mechanisms, some of the old adolescent operating system and worldview that we were all carrying. Those are the things that have to die. And the word death is valid because we have an egoic life of these things. They want to stay alive. They have a life force and a survival unto themselves, and they need to die, and they're not going to die by themselves. So initiation in the abyss is classic initiation psychology. We cannot self-initiate because we cannot kill ourselves. Uh, Even though obviously there's this horrible nihilism of literal suicide, particularly with men right now. But from a psychological standpoint, we need others to push us across the goal line, if you will. And so that's why allies are so important. You cannot get across the abyss without your allies. So that's the magical moment in the stories that the authority figure dies. So Obi-Wan Kenobi dies, right? We think he's going to fight Vader. No. Number two, Dumbledore, he dies. You think he's going to fight Voldemort. He's not. Same thing with Gandalf. You think that he's going to be able to, be the salvation of the Fellowship and the Ring Bearers. He's not. The lesson is nobody's coming to save you. No, nobody's going to come in. There's no mythical father or mother or government that is going to save you. At some point, this is an inside job and it's a tribe job. And for the ladies, that's the wizard and in Oz. So when Dorothy finally travels through and gets to Oz, because the wizard is going to save her, again, she finds that there is another death of another wizard or authority figure. And at that point, if you think about all those stories, there is an abyss that the character enters when all hope is lost. And that's that moment that Joseph Campbell says that where you stumble, there you find your treasure. That cave you fear to enter contains the treasure you seek. And Campbell also says that if you're falling, dive, which means don't resist it. Stop fighting it. If you are falling into the abyss, then you might as well dive, because there is energy, there's acceptance, there's a certain panache and surrender to when you dive. And there's also a lot of safety in that. Speed is our friend, okay, in the abyss. So the moment that the character dies, whether that be Harry Potter or Luke Skywalker, then they're reborn as a different version of themselves. And you'll notice in all those characters, they go from being this victimized survivor, right? Harry Potter is the boy who lived, and he is reborn at the death of Voldemort as the chosen one, right? It's that magical moment when Dorothy realizes that she is not the victim of the story. She's actually the hero of the story. Okay? So in The Wizard of Oz, this is Kansas. She doesn't handle her business, ladies. So she gets pulled into chaos by the tornado. Does she find allies? Yep, she got a metal dude with an axe. She's got a lion. She's got some pretty epic things, and they allow her to be able to navigate this chaos. Right? She receives elder wisdom. She receives supernatural aid, and she enters the abyss, and she realizes that she always had the shoes. And that's that magical moment where transformation happens. So the question for all of us is, what needs to die? What do I need to become? Who do I need to be able to take me to where I'm going? And a lot of times that's uncertain, and you may not have that exact answer, and that's okay. None of these characters really realized what they needed to do when they were in the act of it. The hero's journey allows us to see the roadmap. Like, we get to navigate intentionally through this and go, ooh, I'm in the woods, find my allies, find my elder wisdom, there's an abyss coming, what needs to happen that will facilitate my transformation? And the transformation is the third quadrant, and you'll notice chaos is getting less, right? Because we've learned to own this portion of the journey. We're surviving in chaos. And we're actually transmuting chaos into mastery. And you can see that happening here. And eventually, we return back to the white koi fish, but it's not the same white koi fish that we left over here where we're being pinched and marginalized and we've lost something. It's actually the large horn or head of that white koi fish. And the transformation is the fact that we have returned with a portion of this chaos or magic or energy or creation. And uh, that's the integration of the shadow that Carl Jung talks about. That we have taken some wildness, and a lot of the men here watching have read Iron John. Well, Iron John is the wild man who is then integrated back into society and becomes the king. So that's that full cycle. And this hero's journey roadmap is really the way or the framework that humans deal with uncertainty and the unknown from a psychological standpoint, a mythological standpoint. And I can't think of a better framework for us right now on all of these things. And so I'd like to just leave you with one last piece in this. And guys, I can read these if anybody has any questions. I'd love to be able to unpack some of this with you. But I want to just kind of share a really cool analogy about a dragon that I think is important, in addition to this big scary monster that eats us. So Jordan Peterson, Jordan Peterson refers to the idea of if you have to fight a dragon, and guys, we all have to fight this dragon in some capacity. You want to go to his lair and fight him. You want to fight him there before he gets to your village. I just love that analogy. We're built to play offense. We're built to explore and discover and achieve and express. That's our predator heritage. We've got eyes in the front. We like to hunt. So this is that place where, hey, there's a dragon coming, and he's a threatening beast. Don't let him get to you. You go to him. Play offense. Go see the dragon. Go from being orphan to warrior, right? But sometimes we get stuck fighting dragons, and it's a very challenging. We get stuck in combat, and we get stuck in the identification of struggle. So if the dragon's threatening us here, and here we've accepted the fight, and I'm going to fight the dragon, the transformation here is the changing of that story. And so, ladies, this is a question for you. What's even better than fighting a dragon? I'll let somebody type it in. It's not just for the ladies, but just kind of iconic. What would you rather do than fight a dragon? Da na 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 da na dum bum bum da 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 da. Okay. Instead of fighting the dragon, be the dragon. Well, I don't know if you can be the dragon, but you can ride a dragon, ladies. Okay. So here the dragon is this threatening beast who's going to burn down our careers and our social structure and our community. Like, oh God, that's terrifying. I better go to war with that thing and do what I have to do. Well, why don't we ride the dragon instead, right? Yeah, that's our ally. This experience is a potential really powerful thing that we can ride, right? Come out of this tunnel, and it's a dark, scary tunnel. Come out of it accelerated like the barrel of a gun. Come out of this thing with some momentum, some skills. Do the writing, do the reading, do the work to claim some mastery in a different platform that we all do our work from. And yes, it's going to be hard, and yes, we're going to die, and there's some struggle. Get it. We are in crisis, and there is danger. but there's also opportunity. So don't get stuck, don't get paralyzed, right? Engage with the battle, but then as quickly as we all can, ride this thing, ride the dragon. And ultimately, we're going to ride that dragon back to where we need to go, because this is not going to be forever. And those of us who are taking this opportunity to claim the transformation of this experience, we're coming out of this weaponized. We're coming out of this in a completely different way than we went in, and that's available to all of us. And so, ultimately, when this ends and we come back transformed, then we have to realize that our North Star is going to be about the service that we're going back to provide. And I just want to leave this little morning's talk with the coming home framework. This journey is not for us. And all of these mythological stories. The journey ultimately is about the service that we're providing for the kingdom, right? Or our communities, or industries, if you will. And if we're doing this for ourselves, then we don't get the grail, right? We don't get to go home again. We have to do it over. So it's really important to realize that, to get the grail, you have to ask the right question. And there is a secret question that even if you get right into the castle with the grail, and it's owned by the Fisher King, which is whole other story, you have to ask the question. And the question is, for whom does the grail serve? Like, why did I go on this whole journey? Who was it for? And it's not for us. It's for the kingdom, right? And that's the moment when we realize that we already had it. And the treasure that we get as members of the quest, the fellowship, is, and I'll quote again Joseph Campbell, we get the freedom to live and to follow our bliss, which means we get to choose our journey. We get to be the hero of our journey. We get to own that. We're not a passenger. We're not just this passive thing that's getting swept along like a leaf in the wind. We get to be the master of our fate and the captain of our soul. And that's really the treasure of the transformation that we're all in. So, Mike, great to see you. Amy, thank you. And y'all just keep saying yes, keep answering your call today. Happy Friday. Reach out to your tribe, reach out to your allies. Do your reading, right? Take your online courses. Do those things that you have to do, because that's where we are right now. So this is that time where we need to learn how to survive in chaos. So get to the castle in the woods, and I'll see y'all. Have a great Friday.